In a billionaire's opulent study, Amaka, a humble maid, discovers a faded photograph that stops her heart, a picture of her late mother, Adana, hidden in her employer's drawer. As she confronts the shocking possibility that the powerful Keith Anderson Ina could be her father, a long-buried secret unravels, threatening to upend her world. With a DNA test looming and a family divided, Amaka must navigate betrayal, resentment, and a mysterious letter that could destroy everything she's begun to hope for. Will the truth unite them, or tear them apart forever? The cloth in Amaka's hand fell to the floor. Her fingers lost feeling the instant she spotted the photograph, a slightly worn image of a lovely young woman smiling timidly at the camera. That very photo had rested for years on a small wooden shelf in their village, next to a flickering kerosene lamp and the tattered Bible her mother used for nightly prayers. She recognized it immediately. It was her mother, Adana, the woman who single-handedly raised her in a dilapidated mud house with a roof too weak to withstand the rainy season. The woman who pleaded for funds from neighbors, sold her wrappers, and went without food to cover Amaka's school fees. The same woman who passed away a year ago after a prolonged, agonizing struggle with kidney failure, unable to afford hospital costs any longer. Now, that very photo was tucked inside the drawer of a man who possessed everything, Keith Anderson Ina. Amaka stood motionless in the center of his opulent private study. The faint aroma of aged leather and cologne permeated the air. Behind her, towering bookshelves were adorned with glossy encyclopedias and legal texts. A sleek MacBook sat closed on his polished mahogany desk, above which a golden plaque declared, CEO, O'Benson Group Holdings. She hadn't intended to pry. She was merely performing her routine cleaning duties, dusting the shelves, wiping the glass frames, and mopping the floor. Then she noticed the bottom drawer was slightly ajar, just a sliver. Out of curiosity, she gently pulled it open, expecting perhaps some old documents or unused pens. Instead, she found this, her mother's face, gazing up at her from an unimaginable place. Her breath caught in her throat. A shiver ran down her spine. Her hold on the cloth slackened entirely. She blinked repeatedly, trying to persuade herself it wasn't real, but it was. The pink scarf loosely tied around her mother's neck in the photo, the familiar sparkle in her brown eyes. It was her. It was unmistakably her. Why would her billionaire employer have this photo? Her chest constricted. Then came the distinct sound that startled her, the soft creak of the door opening behind her. She turned swiftly, clutching the photo tightly to her chest, as if it were a secret too valuable to let go. Anderson Ina entered, removing his wristwatch. Clad in a crisp white kaftan and his signature red cap, he appeared weary yet refined, as always. At 50, he carried the composed aura of a man who commanded empires and had witnessed much of life. His eyes met hers with mild curiosity before dropping to her trembling hands. "What are you holding?" he asked softly, not yet aware of the brewing storm. Amaka swallowed hard. Her voice emerged faint and quivering. "Sir, I found this in your drawer." She stepped forward and turned the photo toward him. He blinked. For a moment, his face was unreadable. Then, abruptly, the color drained from his cheeks. His wristwatch slipped from his fingers, landing on the desk with a quiet thud. The man who never wavered in business dealings looked as though he'd seen a ghost. Where did you find this?" he whispered. "In your drawer, sir," Amaka repeated, striving to stay composed despite her heart pounding fiercely. She's my mother. Her name was Adana." Anderson took the photo with trembling hands and gazed at it for what seemed an eternity. His lips parted slightly. Adana, a name he hadn't spoken in over 19 years. He slowly sank into his chair, his knees no longer able to support him. His eyes remained fixed on the photo, as if it were drawing him back to the past. "She always told me she met my father once," Amaka went on, tears welling up at a club in Lagos. "She said she gave him this photo, but never saw him again. His phone number stopped working. She waited and waited, but he never came." Anderson's throat tightened. The room spun briefly. That one night, he recalled it now. A quiet club in Lekki. Her smile, her laughter, her warmth, and the guilt he'd buried when he realized he'd lost his phone the next morning. Back then, he wasn't the billionaire he was now, just an ambitious businessman with dreams. Amaka's voice cut through again. She used to blame him sometimes. Said maybe he didn't try hard enough. But other times she said he probably never knew she was pregnant. Anderson looked up at her slowly. His eyes were misty now. He stood abruptly, resolute. "Driver," he shouted. His voice reverberated through the hallway. Amaka flinched. "Sir, we're going to the hospital," Anderson said, grabbing his phone and slipping the photo into his breast pocket like it was priceless. "We need to confirm this." "But why, sir?" His eyes met hers, intense, emotional, a mix of fear and hope. "Because if this is true, you're my daughter." The word struck her like a blow. Her legs nearly buckled. "What?" "Just come with me," he said. Now. Within minutes, they were seated in the back of a sleek black SUV, racing toward the hospital. The driver asked no questions. Amaka sat rigidly, her eyes flicking to Anderson, who stared silently out the window, lost in thought. Amaka pressed her palm to her chest. Her mother had never lied to her. Could this really be happening? Less than 2 hours ago, she was a maid, scrubbing floors. Now she might be the daughter of a billionaire. But a voice inside her kept whispering, "What if it's true? What if you belong here?" The car slowed as they pulled into the hospital gates. Anderson turned to her. "We'll do a DNA test now. I need to know if you're really mine." And in that moment, the world stood still. The waiting room at Regal Diagnostic Center was quiet, too quiet. The ticking clock on the wall seemed louder than usual. Amaka sat on a steel chair, arms folded across her stomach, her nerves buzzing like a swarm of bees. Every second felt like an eternity. Her maid uniform looked out of place in this pristine, modern space filled with people in suits and designer clothes. Anderson Ina paced before her, his red cap tucked under his arm. His polished demeanor had faded. He looked like a man torn between past and present, between regret and hope. Neither spoke. The nurse had already taken their samples, a cheek swab from each. The test was quick, but the wait was agonizing. Amaka's eyes fell to her trembling fingers. She kept thinking of her mother, Adana. She had so many questions. If Anderson was truly her father, why hadn't fate reunited them sooner? Why now, after her mother was gone? Would Adana have forgiven him or blamed him? Suddenly, Anderson stopped pacing. He turned to her. "You said she died last year," he asked softly. Amaka nodded, eyes down. "Yes, sir. Kidney failure." He sat beside her slowly. "I'm sorry. I should have done more." She turned to him, her gaze cautious. "She waited for you, you know. Even when she was sick, she believed you might show up one day." Anderson blinked rapidly, fighting the tears in his eyes. "That night, I didn't know she was pregnant. I lost my phone the next morning. I didn't even fully recall her name until I saw that picture. I kept it all these years. I couldn't forget her." Amaka remained silent. She wasn't sure if she believed him or wanted to. Just then, the door creaked open. A young lab technician entered, holding a brown file. He scanned the room, then approached them. "Chief Anderson Ina?" he asked politely. "Yes," Anderson replied, standing. The technician handed him the file. "Your results, sir. You're free to review them. A doctor will be available shortly if you need further explanation." Anderson took the envelope slowly. The room fell silent again. Amaka stood, her heart racing. She was afraid to breathe. With trembling fingers, Anderson opened the file. His eyes scanned the paper. Then he paused. His mouth opened slightly. Amaka's heart stopped. "What does it say?" she whispered, stepping closer. Anderson turned the paper toward her, his hand shaking. At the top, in bold black letters, it read, "Paternity result positive. Probability of paternity 99.9999%. Amaka gasped. The world blurred around her. Her hand flew to her mouth, and the tears she'd held back surged like a flood. Her legs gave way, but Anderson caught her. "Amaka," he whispered, pulling her close. "You're my daughter. You're really my daughter." Amaka clung to him, as if holding onto her last shred of sanity. She sobbed uncontrollably into his chest, her tears soaking his white caftan. All her life, she dreamed of a moment where someone would choose her, fight for her, claim her, but she never imagined it would happen like this, that the billionaire she worked for as a maid would be her father. Anderson's eyes were wet as he kissed her forehead. I'm so sorry, my daughter. Forgive me. She nodded, crying harder. I miss her so much. She deserved to see this day. They remained in that embrace for several minutes, two broken hearts finding a missing piece. Later that evening, the driver pulled up to the mansion. This time, Amaka didn't sit in the back like a maid. She sat beside Anderson, his daughter, but as they entered the grand foyer, a cold, invisible force hit them. Three pairs of eyes stared from the top of the curved staircase. Sandra, Monica, and Amara, Anderson's three daughters. Sandra, the eldest, crossed her arms and narrowed her eyes. Monica, the middle child, smirked coldly. Amara, the youngest, looked confused yet curious. Anderson placed a gentle hand on Amaka's shoulder. I need you all to come down now, he said firmly. The girls descended slowly, like royalty attending an unwelcome summons. Amaka felt small again under their piercing gazes. Anderson took a deep breath. This is Amaka. She's my daughter, your sister. Silence. Then Sandra scoffed. Sister? That girl. Monica laughed bitterly. You mean the maid? Anderson's tone sharpened. I said, your sister. Amaka's throat burned, but she stayed silent. She'd fought too many battles to let pride become one. I've done the test, Anderson continued. She's mine, and she's not going anywhere. Amara, the youngest, looked between them nervously. But Daddy, how? It's a long story, he said. But what matters now is that she's part of this family. Sandra stepped forward. No, she's not. We don't know her. We don't need her. Anderson's face hardened. You will treat her with respect. Whether you like it or not, Amaka is your blood. If anyone has a problem with that, you can leave this house. Another heavy silence. Amaka stood still, holding back tears. She didn't want pity. She didn't need instant acceptance. She just needed a chance. She glanced at the staircase she once scrubbed with a toothbrush. Now she was climbing those steps, not as a maid, but as his daughter. That night, alone in her new room with a soft bed and her own mirror, Amaka gazed at her mother's photo and whispered, Mama, I found him. You were right to believe. But she knew the road ahead would be tough, especially with three resentful sisters who didn't want her there. And so, while the truth had given her a father, it had also sparked a conflict. The morning sun streamed into Amaka's new room, illuminating the golden curtains and soft cream walls. But even the beauty of her surroundings couldn't lighten the weight in her chest. This was her room now. A week ago, she was scrubbing floors, cleaning bathrooms, and sleeping in a cramped room near the servants' quarters. Today, she had a wardrobe full of new clothes, a bed softer than she'd ever imagined, and a billionaire father down the hall. Yet she felt more out of place than ever. The house was quiet, but not peaceful. The air was thick with cold glances, hushed conversations, and doors that softly clicked shut as she passed. Her half-sisters made no effort to hide their resentment. Sandra ignored her entirely. Monica sneered whenever they crossed paths, and Amara, the youngest, watched her with a mix of confusion and fear, as if Amaka had emerged from a nightmare their father had kept secret. Anderson tried hard to make her feel welcome. He took her shopping, asked about her dreams, and even helped her apply for schools. He kept saying how proud her mother would have been, but nothing he did could ease the tension in the house. Every meal felt like a battle. Every moment was charged with strain. Like this morning, Amaka entered the dining room for breakfast, wearing a soft pink gown Anderson had bought her, her hair neatly tied. She greeted the girls politely, as always. Sandra sipped her juice without looking up. Did anyone hear something? Monica laughed. Must be the wind. Anderson shot them a stern look as he folded his newspaper. That's enough. Amaka sat quietly, focusing on her food, her heart racing. I still don't understand why she's here, Sandra said, dabbing her lips with a napkin. She's not even one of us. She's my daughter, Anderson replied firmly. That makes her one of you. Your maid was your daughter, Monica said with a cruel smirk. That's a new one. Monica, he warned. It's okay, Daddy, Amaka said softly, setting down her spoon. You don't have to defend me. I'm used to eating alone. She stood, gently pushing in her chair, and turned to leave the dining room. But before she stepped out, Amara's voice stopped her. You wanted to be a doctor, right? Amaka turned, surprised. Yes, since I was little. Amara looked away shyly. My tutor has extra chemistry books. You can borrow them if you want. Monica's fork clattered loudly. Amara. But Anderson smiled. Thank you, Amara. Amaka whispered, blinking back tears. That afternoon, Anderson sat in his study, looking at old photos. There was one of his late wife, one of his 3 daughters as toddlers, and now, beside them, he placed Adana's photo. Her gentle smile still stirred something deep in his chest. He had failed her. He had failed them both. A knock came at the door. Come in. It was Sandra. I want to talk, she said, arms crossed. He gestured for her to sit, but she stayed standing. I don't hate her because she's poor, Sandra began. I hate that you hid her from us. I didn't know about her, Sandra. I swear it. I don't believe you, she said coldly. And even if it's true, she's ruining everything. Our family was fine before she came. Anderson stood slowly. Our family was never complete without her. Sandra's eyes narrowed. So, she gets everything now? What next? She takes Mom's place. Anderson's voice trembled. No one will ever replace your mother. But Amaka deserves to be loved, Sandra. She's my child, just like you. Sandra turned and left without another word. Anderson sighed heavily. He knew this wouldn't be easy, but he didn't know something even harder was coming. Meanwhile, Amaka sat in the garden behind the house, flipping through one of Amara's borrowed chemistry books. Her mind wandered. She missed her mother terribly, and she missed her old life, despite its hardships, because at least then she knew her place. Here, everything felt uncertain, temporary. A shadow fell over her page. She looked up. It was Monica. I see you're already making friends, Monica said, arms crossed. I'm just studying. Let's not play games. We both know you don't belong here. Amaka stood, her voice steady. Maybe I don't, but I'm here now, and I'm not leaving. Monica stepped closer, her eyes sharp. You think this is a fairy tale? That you'll get the wealth, the name, and the family? I don't want your wealth. I just want a chance. Monica smirked. We'll see how long you last. She turned and walked away, her heels clicking on the tiled path. Amaka sat back down, her hands trembling slightly, but her determination grew stronger. Later that night, as the house quieted and the staff retired, Amaka tiptoed downstairs. She entered the kitchen and sat alone, holding a cup of warm water. She couldn't sleep. She stared out the window at the moon and whispered to the stars. I don't know why this is happening now, Mama. I wish you were here. I wish you could see me. Suddenly, a deep voice came from the doorway. She is seeing you. Amaka turned sharply. It was Anderson. He walked in, wearing his robe, and sat beside her. She would have been so proud of you. Amaka nodded, fighting tears. I'm scared. Of what? That they'll never accept me. That I don't belong in this world. Anderson took her hand. You belong here. You belong with me. And I will never let anyone push you out of this family. Amaka finally let herself cry. Not quiet tears of fear, but healing tears of a girl who had carried too much pain for too long. In that moment, father and daughter sat in silence, two souls finding peace in each other. But just as things began to mend, a new threat loomed. A letter would arrive the next day, one that would jeopardize everything Amaka had started to hope for. The mansion's morning was unusually calm. Birds chirped softly outside the tall windows, and sunlight filtered gently into the hallways. For the first time since Amaka learned the truth, the air felt lighter. Amara had begun asking her about village life, and Anderson had promised to help her apply for the next medical school entrance program. Even Sandra had stopped throwing sharp words at every turn. It was slow progress, but it was something, until the letter arrived. Anderson was finishing his tea in the study when his personal assistant entered, holding a cream-colored envelope sealed with a wax stamp. Sir, the assistant said quietly, this was delivered by hand. No sender name. Anderson frowned, took the envelope, and carefully opened it. As he read, his fingers tightened around the paper. His face darkened. His eyes grew still. Without a word, he stood, walked to the door, and called out, Amaka, come to my study. Amaka had been reviewing anatomy flashcards in her room. Hearing her father's voice, she hurried downstairs, heart pounding. He never shouted like this. She entered the study. "Daddy." He looked at her, eyes heavy. "Sit down." She obeyed, confused. He handed her the letter. She took it, unfolded the page, and read. Her breath caught. It was a typed letter, brief, cruel, and unsigned. A word of caution, Chief Anderson. You've let a gold digger into your home. That girl is not who you think she is. We know where she came from and what her mother was. It won't take long before the public knows, too. She's here to ruin you. No name, no signature, just venom. Amaka stared at the paper, her hand shaking. Who sent this? Anderson exhaled slowly, staring into space. I don't know. She called my mother a gold digger? Amaka said in disbelief, tears forming. I've had enemies all my life, Anderson replied. But this is someone close. Someone who knows too much. Suddenly, a knock came at the door. It was Monica. She stepped in, feigning surprise. What's going on? Anderson's eyes narrowed. Did you write this? Monica blinked. What? Me? Don't lie to me, he said firmly. I didn't write anything, she replied, lifting her chin. But maybe whoever did just told you the truth you didn't want to hear. Amaka stood, her voice trembling. Why are you doing this? Monica stepped closer. Because this is our life, our family, and you're a stranger. You think just because you showed up with a sad story, we'd welcome you as a sister? I never asked for anything, Amaka cried. You got everything. A room, new clothes, Dad's attention. Do you know how long I worked to prove myself in this house? She's your sister, Anderson thundered. DNA confirmed it. Blood confirmed it. Your bitterness doesn't change that. Blood, Monica snapped. Then why did Mom suffer alone, raising 3 daughters while you forgot about some girl in the village? Anderson froze. Monica turned to Amaka. You're not the only one with scars. She stormed out. Amaka stood silently, her body heavy. The letter burned in her fingers. By evening, the letter had spread like wildfire through the mansion. The staff whispered among themselves. Rumors reached social media blogs after someone anonymously posted a photo of Amaka with Anderson at a charity event. The comments were harsh. Who is she? Another maid climbing the ladder? Maybe the old man's lost his mind. For the first time since the DNA result, Amaka felt like she was drowning. Anderson called his media team to handle the mess, but the damage was already growing. The next day, as Amaka walked down the hallway, the staff fell silent when she passed. A maid who once smiled at her quickly looked away. In the kitchen, she overheard the cook and a driver arguing quietly. She's just pretending to be innocent, the driver said. All this my mother died. I'm suffering story. Now look, she's living like a princess. Sure, she might hear you. I don't care, the driver snapped. What if she's lying about everything? Amaka backed away quietly, her throat tight. That night, she skipped family dinner. She stayed in her room, curled on the bed, staring at her mother's photo on the nightstand. Mama, is this what you wanted for me? She whispered. I don't belong here. Meanwhile, Anderson sat in the living room, lost in thought. Amara walked in and sat beside him. You believe her, right? She asked softly. He looked up. With all my heart. Then maybe we need to help her prove it. Not just with blood, but with her future. Anderson smiled faintly. You're right. The next morning, Amaka was called to the study again. She entered slowly, bracing for more bad news. But Anderson stood by the window, holding a white envelope, this time with a warm smile. He handed it to her. She opened it. Her eyes widened. It was an admission letter from Lagos College of Medicine. She looked up in disbelief. But I didn't even finish my application. I did, Anderson said with a wink. I made a call. They reviewed your grades and exam scores. You start next semester. All fees covered. Amaka was speechless. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Then tears fell. She rushed into his arms, hugging him tightly. But deep down, she wondered, if someone was willing to write that letter, what else would they do to destroy her? The sun shone warmly that morning in OMG village, casting golden rays over the red earth. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves as Amaka stood by the small grave, her eyes filled with both sorrow and peace. Beside her stood Chief Anderson Ina, holding a bouquet of fresh white lilies. The headstone read, Adonai Ina, A mother's love never dies. Amaka knelt and placed a small framed photo beside it, the same one she found in his drawer months ago, the one that changed everything. "Hi, Mama," she whispered, her voice steady. "I made it just like you said I would." Tears welled in Anderson's eyes as he stepped forward. "You gave me the greatest gift without even knowing it, Adana. I wish I had found you sooner." They stood in silence, a father and daughter honoring the woman who shaped their lives without ever asking for anything in return. Amaka was no longer a maid, no longer a stranger. She was Dr. Amaka Ina, freshly graduated from medical school, a woman with purpose, confidence, and a heart full of healing. The journey had been hard. Sandra took the longest to accept her, but eventually, seeing Amaka's kindness and humility, she softened. Monica quietly apologized one day, offering an old childhood bracelet as a gesture of peace. And Amara became Amaka's closest friend, more like a sister than anyone else. Then came Johnson, a quiet, thoughtful pharmacist who helped Amaka through school with textbooks and long library talks. Their friendship grew into love, and 6 months ago, under the setting sun in a small chapel, they exchanged vows. Anderson walked her down the aisle, his eyes filled with joy. Now, 2 years later, they were back in the village. In Amaka's arms, wrapped in soft white cloth, was a baby girl, round cheeks, big curious eyes, and a head full of curly black hair. "She looks just like her grandmother," Anderson said, smiling. Amaka nodded. "That's why we named her Adana." He leaned forward and kissed the baby's forehead. "She's the future, my daughter, and your mother is smiling down on all of us." As they turned to leave the graveyard, Amaka held her daughter tighter. Her heart was full, not just because of wealth or titles, but because love had found her, because truth had restored what was lost. And as they walked down the dusty path together, 3 generations bound by one photo, one moment, and one woman's quiet strength, Amaka finally felt whole. If you enjoyed this story, please comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales.